Gary Kitchen loves putting his name on stuff, just like his pal David Crane. I mentioned this in my A Boy and His Blob video, a game both Gary Kitchen and David Crane worked on, where David Crane's name graces the cover. Not to be outdone by his good buddy Dave, Gary decided to plaster his name on Battletank, a decision that continues to haunt purveyors and enthusiasts of the NES library to this day. You might find it in the B's for Battletank, or you might have to cycle over to the G's for Gary to find it there. Thanks for the hassle, Gary. Did you know Gary was also the lead on Bart vs. the World and Bart vs. the Space Mutants? You don't see his name plastered all over those, do you? Wonder why. That's for another day. For now, let's see what's up with Gary Kitchen's Battletank on the NES. A first-person view from inside of a tank in an NES game is pretty rare. Cockpit views from the inside of jets and helicopters were all the rage, and unless you were in a mech, you rarely ever got to experience first-person combat on the ground, but in Battletank, you are sitting comfortably inside a Battletank. Apparently, this game was originally designed to be a flying sim on the Commodore 64 before plans changed, so that kind of explains it. This one has 10 total levels, and each is a singular mission that amounts to, hey, go blow up everything on the map. When you start out in the tank, you'll notice that you're in a featureless, wide-open area, and you can't get your tank to move. To move your tank, you hold down B and press up for more speed and down for less. Not intuitive, but not terrible, since you'll use up and down on the D-pad to aim your shots as well. Once the tank is on the go, you'll wonder where on earth everything is. Hello? Anybody want to fight a tank? You look at the map by pressing Start. The map shows you everything, all the other tanks, helicopters, and targets you're supposed to blow up on your assignment. But man, it takes forever to get to these things. How big are these maps? Well, it turns out the best way to get around the map is by using the map. So press Start, bring the map up, and guide your tank via the map to one of the targets. Just be sure to dodge the minefields or you'll blow yourself up. Once you're pretty close to an enemy, exit the map and search around for a white dot to enter your radar there at the bottom of the screen. Now you can engage in a firefight and finally have some fun. Firefights can be challenging. It's very difficult to dodge incoming attacks, but you can maneuver left and right to attempt to get the missiles off screen as far as you can. Your best bet is to just be aggressive and kill them before they kill you. While all the enemies get more difficult as the game goes, enemies, tanks especially, aren't too difficult for the first while. You'll have 4 different weapons at your disposal, and you can cycle between those using Select. You have cannons, a machine gun, smoke screens, and a lock-on strike listed as Wire. Each of these weapons has their own strengths depending on the enemies you're up against. Helicopters are the most challenging enemies. They fly around quicker than your tank can spin, are often in pairs, and can be difficult to land a hit on. I found that dropping a smoke screen keeps them from attacking you while you fire through the smoke at them to wipe them out. In fact, the smoke screen is great for a lot of situations. At the end of some levels, after you clear everything on the map, the final mission will require you to travel to a location where it's just your tank versus some landmark where multiple turrets or enemies fire on you. There's no way to survive this without the smoke screen, so toss one out and then fire back at what's firing at you. Ammo isn't unlimited, and neither is your life, as is indicated by the 6 lights in the top left, meaning you can take about that many hits before your tank explodes. Losing a life means game over, and you get just 1 continue, so this one isn't very forgiving. Fortunately, mini-maps have recharge areas, called out in the manual as NATO headquarters, where you can replenish your health, ammo, and fuel once each mission. Oh yeah, you can run out of fuel in this game too, but you'd really have to be screwing around to run out before you finish the level. There are some strategies that can help you out in addition to using the smokescreen in tough situations. Changing the angle of your shot will impact how far away you can hit enemies, a nice touch that adds some literal depth to the experience. You can turn the tank a bit faster if you manipulate your speed, and you'll want to be careful of where minefields are when you finish off an enemy. If you're speeding along in a direction and zip back to the map, you could plow into some mines without realizing it. It's very easy to get turned around in these featureless landscapes. Although each mission does introduce a slightly different looking environment to roam around in, but it's never anything crazy or memorable, it's just palette swaps. There's not much of a story here. You're an unnamed character in an unnamed location, but you must rescue your NATO officer who is held hostage deep in enemy territory, which is weird considering the number of NATO headquarters you encounter on each mission for refueling yourself. Are all of those in enemy territory too? One interesting thing about this one comes from the manual. You can quote-unquote earn your stripes by taking a picture of the final sunset screen after you complete the game and mailing it into this address in exchange for a certificate or quote-unquote officer's commission said to be perfect for framing. Did anyone ever do that? I need to see one of these framed certificates. All in all, Battletank is fine. It's just a bit boring and repetitive on top of getting a little tough about halfway through. A few more continues would have been helpful, but even so, after about 5 or 6 missions, you'll be wishing it was over, and at that point, you're only about halfway. There are worse games on the NES, for sure. This one just doesn't offer enough to hold my interest for more than a little while, despite being perfectly competent at what it sets out to do. Not to be swayed by the lackluster reception of Battletank, Gary Kitchen set out to design a follow-up called Super Battletank that, despite having Super in the title, did come out for Sega systems of the time as well. This one boasts a view with pillars obstructing most of your view, meaning you can hardly see anything, and it's exactly what you're expecting for a Battletank sequel. Another sequel, Super Battletank 2, followed that, and it was a Super Nintendo exclusive. Once again, your viewing area from the cockpit is tiny, but there are some alternative combat views at least. Ultimately, it's more of the same, wandering around a desert and shooting things that enter your radar with a few upgrades sprinkled in. Super Battletank 2 marked the end of Gary Kitchen's Battletank series, and thus the end of today's video. As always, if you can't handle Gary, stay out of the kitchen. Thanks for watching.